And we are back, folks, with another edition of the Michigan Insider Film Breakdown, focusing on Michigan's 33-9 victory over the Northwestern Wildcats. We always talk offense with the guy we call Gorgeous. He's an offensive guru, has sort of been the go-to for, at least for me, for years, and now the go-to for you as we diagnose what went wrong, what went right with the Michigan offense. His name is Al Borges. Al, how you doing?
I'm doing great, and I appreciate you calling me gorgeous. Not many people do anymore, Sam.
I just, hey man, I'm just calling you by the nickname. I wasn't giving you an opinion. That's just the nickname that has been bestowed upon.
That burst my bubble a little bit right there. Not that I really care whether you think I'm gorgeous or not, but
Yeah, I hear you. Hey man, look, the record for Michigan, certainly, I don't care how they got there. 7-0, as we've been talking about, is perfect. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. But the ingredients to that 7-0, the ongoing question for Michigan fans is: are those ingredients enough? Are they good enough to push them beyond that? But I'm curious with what you saw in the Northwestern game. If you saw, another step, another foundation, what were your biggest takeaways from the victory over the Wildcats?
Well, I think when it was all said and done, it was a pretty solid performance. I mean, when you rack up, 457 total yards and rush the ball for darn near 300 yards, that's pretty good. Now, it wasn't the greatest start in the world, and there were reasons for that, okay? Northwestern, who, I coached against them 3 years when I was here, and I have deja vu of playing Stanford when I was in the Pac-10, okay? They're smart, and they're hard to finesse. They're hard to finesse. They, some of the finesse plays like the bashes and the give bluffs and the fly sweeps and all that stuff, they don't work as good against them because they study the tape. They're not that everybody studies the tape. They're bright kids, and I found against Northwestern, you're better off trying to bully them than to trick them, okay? Not that you can bully them because they're tough kids. Pat does a good job, but body on body, Michigan usually has superior personnel. So the more you can use that approach, I think the better you are, okay? They were doing a lot of stuff early in the game where they were returning their front back into open side runs by either blitzing their Sam linebacker, blitzing their Mike linebacker, and slanting their front back into the open side where Michigan likes to run the ball a lot. And I'm sure they were aware of that. So a lot of those slants were coming right into where the ball was being run, and it was very difficult to stay on targets. They were fronts that looked good initially to block, but once the ball snapped, didn't look quite as good.
So you're having to block a lot of movement.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts and a lot of bodies at the point of attack. Tight safeties. Now, this isn't new. I mean, I watched the tape, and I thought Mike Hankwitz was still the defensive coordinator because it didn't look any different to me. They're tight safeties, quarters coverage, or they're pressuring off the edge, rotating their safeties into some form of 3-deep zone and getting somebody down to stop that run. I mean, it was deja vu all over again, like I said.
It's interesting that you mentioned because Mike Hankwitz is a Michigan guy, but not the defensive coordinator anymore. But I know some Michigan fans like, is this Michigan just that they just come out flat? Are they just not? Did they not take Northwestern serious? This is not the kind of defense the Northwestern is playing against other teams, say before the bye week. So the word was that they went back to Mike Hankwitz's defense. Now, I don't follow Northwestern enough to know how much of what they were doing before incorporated aspects of Mike Hankwitz's defense. But again, the word that we read in our intel reports, it was that they were struggling so much defensively that they decided in the bye week to bring some of Hankwitz's defensive concepts back, Al, because the kids know it. The only one that's foreign to is the DC, but the kids know it. So, it's provided he can pick it up, it gets them in their comfort zone. And maybe they can go out there and play without thinking as much as they were.
That makes a lot of sense because I didn't either. I didn't look back to see what the differences were. But all I know is having coached against Hank when he was at A&M and Northwestern, I've had to coach against Mike quite a bit, and I mean, I could watch a video and they could put a blank jerseys on all the guys, and I could tell you it was Hank's defense, no
Mhm.
matter who was doing it. So some of those were very, very familiar. One thing I think that's got to get better is the play action game. They're running the ball so well, but the play action game and the shots it got to improve. And they're so hit and miss, but they were much more miss in this game. But
Mhm.
the upside of it wasn't totally, the news isn't all bad, because the intermediate game, that the short balls, the stick routes, and the those type of routes, the slants, he's throwing those good, and he's bailing them out of some third downs because he is. But the problem is they're not just not getting enough big chunks when they're taking shots on early downs, and that's keeping them from taking that next step. And this is kind of a broken record because we've talked about this some, but we have seen signs of that improving. But this game, I think it took a step back. I don't think it was as good.
I mean, the narrative that the receivers aren't getting open, that the receivers aren't getting separation, and that's limiting the offense, that is false, Al.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
Sam,
receivers are getting open.
you could use anecdotal evidence and watch one play and say, "Hey, see, they're not open." Well, that does not mean the receivers aren't getting. Maybe one play they're not getting open, but the sum total of their pass offense, they got a lot of open receivers, a lot of open receivers. So that's not an issue. It may be once in a while, but it's not been a consistent problem.
Not a consistent issue at all. But we will get to that and talk about it, how do you sort of raise the ceiling of the offense in the here and now
Mm-hmm.
without doing something drastic, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
really, I mean, why would you take drastic measures on an undefeated team? You don't take drastic measures on an undefeated team. You make tweaks on an undefeated team. So we will get to that a little later. But I want to start off talking about what you mentioned about the returns, or the defense turning into Michigan's open side runs, right? And it feeling like, man, did they just have Michigan's number? Is Michigan just flat? No, this is just, tactically, they were on point.
Mm-hmm.
Northwestern was to start the game. And let's start with talking about the speed option that they ran. I mean, I know some folks are like, speed option with Cade McNamara. Come on, Coach Borges. What are they thinking here? Why are they running this with Cade McNamara? But this was one that was important to show because it really illustrates what Northwestern was doing to limit Michigan early.
Okay, you can see now as you just look at the picture. Okay, they're in a quarters look and they rotate down to a 3 deep to the field. Okay, the Sam linebacker's doing a nice job of holding the blitz until the snap of the ball. So there's no real tips to tell you to audible the play or check it the other way or do whatever. Okay, so what's happening now with the Sam coming, the front does what we call return. They return away from the blitz. Okay, that puts that 2-eye technique outside the right tackle with the defensive end. Well, that's the worst scenario you could get on an option play because you want to isolate that in so you can run at him, make him commit, and pitch the football to get the perimeter. Why did they run this play with Cade McNamara? They ran it because they wanted an outside run. They wanted to get an outside run that they thought he could get rid of quick. They didn't anticipate him having to run the ball, which in this case he probably should have ducked under that looper and run the ball. But he doesn't run this play much, and the expectations are probably kind of low from that perspective. But they just dialed. It's an untimely call. There's two guys outside on an option play. You don't want that. You want to always pitch the ball off the pitch key. The pitch key is the widest guy. Well, in this case, there's two guys wide. Now, one can take the quarterback, the other can take the pitch, and you really have a dead play. So, again, it was a well-timed out call by the defense against a play that is it's kind of a token play for Michigan. It's not one of their base plays, but I'm sure they were just trying to get that ball to their tailback outside, and they just dialed it at the wrong time.
Right. So, again, you said don't try to finesse Northwestern. I went over the bash play with Jack Miller because remember this been a thing for us. The bash play is the one where they give it to Blake Corum and they say, hey, beat the defensive end around the corner. and then you're one-on-one. Once you get around the corner, whoever, whether you run into a DB, once you turn the corner, you're gonna have to beat that safety. If you do, it's a touchdown. He's done that twice this season. Man, they tried to run that bash play in this game, and the defensive end was ready for it, Al.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
bash,
could tell
he didn't bite on the bash.
No, you could tell they'd seen it, practiced it, they knew what was coming. And we said it from the beginning, Sam. It's not a play you run 5 times a game. It's a play you test the defense. Let's test him. Let's see if that guy's going to squeeze so far we could capture the edge. They tested it. It didn't work. You could tell the guys had seen it. They practiced it. I don't know. They knew it was coming, but they certainly reacted to it well enough where they couldn't get the play started. So it's a use it, don't abuse it play. And, they found out that the bash wasn't the play this week. And here you got the wing and the tight end releasing outside, assuming that ball's going to get around the edge, assuming that end is going to close. Well, you can see he gets upfield a little bit, sees the picture of the back, and just stops it before it ever gets started. It's a play you can stop without, if you know what you're doing, it's not a hard play to stop. But so often there's so many conflicting schemes that go with a down block, and squeeze so much you can run this play, but in this instance, they weren't having it.
Right. And just to give you a bigger view, normally in the other plays, this guy gets sucked way in and Blake beats him around the corner with no problem. They weren't buying that.
They ran it. They could tell Northwestern had seen it. All right. That's not one we want to run a lot this game. Okay. We'll try that again against the next opponent.
All right. So we can get into now, talking about the things that did work, right? Because a lot started to work in this game. And really, it felt like to me, and tell me if you agree, Al, this was maybe the most vivid example in one game for both backs winning just one-on-one battle after one-on-one battle after one-on-one battle. It was a clinic in beating the free defender.
Yeah, they just continue to shine, these two, and they do it different ways. With Blake, it's so often he just breaks their ankles. He gets out in the open field and embarrasses guys. You know what I mean? If he gets squared up to you, your odds of getting him down are not good. And I don't care who you are. Where Hassan, he can do a little of that. He's not completely he's not so stiff he can't juke guys, but he's more of a punish the guy, break the tackle, jump over the guy. We saw that variation last week. And it's painful to tackle Hassan Haskins. It's embarrassing to tackle Blake Corum. So the combination of those two guys, I think, and I don't know if I watched every college football team this year, but I've watched damn near every college football team. That combination, you're going to be hard-pressed to find two better guys because they both bring something a little different to the table, yet they're both every bit as productive.
Right. So they ran this duo kick play, and we'll illustrate one with Hassan Haskins where, you could get free defenders two ways, right? So there are the plays that you guys, you coordinators, you draw up and the back is responsible for a man. Like, hey, we got these guys blocked up, and by design, running back, you are one-on-one with this guy. It could be a DB, it could be line, whoever, you're one-on-one with that guy. The other kind of free defender is, there's a bust. Someone has an MA or someone just flats get beaten, and you got to make that play right. And these guys, Al, it is impressive how often they are doing that this season, how often they are making these plays right.
I call it a duo kick because there's a man either motioning or coming from the other side of the formation to kick out the first man outside the tight end, okay? All right, you can see this is basically 13 personnel, 13 meaning one back, three tight ends. Got a lot of blockers in there, Sam, okay? The guy's going to short motion to about the hip of the right tight end. There's the backer that's going to run through, and we're going to make a point on that as we watch it, okay? What's a run through? A run through is a guy who triggers once he sees a gap that looks like it's uncovered, okay? He's basically playing his position, and a lot of times he'll look like he's blitzing, but he's not blitzing. He's just trying to find a hole, okay? In this instance now, this is a dual kick versus a run through, And again, you spotlight the guy who is the run-through backer. He's the guy to be aware of because he's going to be unblocked, not because by design, but because of a mistake, okay? Everybody blocks a gap to their right, double teaming whenever possible. So you can see the right tight end is going to block the D gap, the right tackle the C gap, the right guard, B gap, and on all the way across the formation, okay? And then the motion man's going to come across, get to about the hip of the right tight end, and then come across the formation and kick out the first man to show off the edge. Now, that could be several different guys. That could be a guy on the line of scrimmage blitzing. That could be a scraping linebacker from depth. That could be a safety fill in the alley. That could be the looping 7 technique. It could be a lot of different guys, but he's just looking for an opposite colored jersey to kick out, okay? The back is going to come downhill, and he's going to read the Mike linebacker. The linebacker, just pause it just a second, Sam. If the Mike linebacker sits in the hole, he may buzz his feet and bust outside. He may buzz his feet if he sees a hole and cut back. In this instance, they are looping the 3, or looping the 2I, I should say, and filling with that linebacker, okay? So everyone's going to step with that inside foot with their eyes up. Try to get your double team if you can, unless somebody disappears, but keep your eyes up because there could be anybody filling those gaps on the snap of the ball. And I think this is like 3rd and 1 or 2. So the triggers or the blitzes, either one, and this could be either, are going to come fast. Things are going to happen fast. See, now you see 52, the left guard, gets buried on the 3 technique, who loops back into the B gap, and he doesn't see the linebacker fill the A gap. If you could show that one more time. Yeah, everybody steps with their inside foot and eyeballs the gap. And don't get your head buried. So you get your head buried inside. Now they run right through. And now he had to beat him. But that's Hassan. You know,
well, you could sort of see how the leak sprung, if you will, by you always say the quarterback tips his aerial with his helmet. You see which way the wings are pointing. Devin mentioned that this week. He said, "Hey, Coach Borges used to always say, I can see where you're looking. I can see where you're looking." I said, "No, you can't, Coach. You can't see my eyes. I can see the wings on your helmet." Well, look at the wings on the helmets of the linemen.
Everybody's going right, but one
guy.
Right. And that's where the hole is. See, this is why
and that's
you have to be so disciplined with your footwork, your hat placement, and your eyes. See, now Pat thought he had a stack of flies. Look at him. Oh, God, what happened there? You got to be kidding me. We ran a guy through.
Right, man.
Pat. I've been there, but
Hassan, Haskins, and Blake Corum, they are routinely making that guy.
Oh, there's some plays in this game that really get your attention now. There's a few plays that really get your attention. And weren't necessarily long runs, but just that they got out of the backfield is amazing to me.
I mean, how about this one just real quick for Blake Corum, just to give him another, no illustration on this one, Al, but just sort of another example.
Yeah, I don't think the illustration would do this one justice, Sam, to be honest with you.
Yes,
now,
it is.
As you set this up, I want you to understand. I'm going to go back to something we've talked about in the past. To make a zone play work, you have to be able to press the line of scrimmage. You have to be able to push up through the heels of your linemen to move the defense and create cavities in the gap control of the defensive front, okay? Make the linebackers move, make the D linemen play their blocks, and as soon as you see something develop, you go ahead and take it, right? Could be cut back, could be... Well, if you can't press the zone play, the stock of the play basically is dead. Or is it? Okay? Because he has no chance to press this because the right guard gets blown into the backfield, okay? So he can't get to the gap. Can you pause it right there, Sam?
Yeah, I'll go back.
He can't get to the gap that he's trying to press, okay? We used to tell the guy, pause it right there if you would, if you can.
Yes. Here?
There. Okay, perfect. Okay. Now, we used to tell the backs in the shotgun, press the A gap until you can't. So get on the heels of your linemen, ride those double teams, and feel the cracks in the defense, okay? Well, he gets the ball, and right away, we're pushed back. Okay.
And
So
both guards are in the backfield.
right. And what's kind of a shame is if you look at the play side, they got pretty good movement on the tag. Tag meaning the guard and the tackles only. That doesn't look all bad. But he can't get to that. He can't get to that because he can't press it and he can't move the second level. Now, who is it? The split zone guy comes across and handles the wrong arm. Now, remember, when there's a wrong arm or opposite shoulder technique, the vertical seam is generally blown up. You understand? Okay, so now what do you got? You got the guard getting pushed in the backfield 3 yards and the vertical seam getting blown up by the wrong arm. Everything is saying there's no place to run, coach.
So when he says, I think we got to talk people through what you mean when you say wrong arm. This edge guy, instead of hitting it with his outside arm free, right?
Five technique can play it two ways. He can inside arm it, okay, or he can we call wrong arm or opposite arm it. Basically trap the trapper, if that makes any sense, okay? He comes across and he'll turn his shoulders, which he's a turkey for the bluff play. But guess what, Sam? This ain't a bluff play, okay? But he's in good shape if it's a split zone, which is what it is, all right? So he's gonna come off and wrong arm that crossing tight end. All right, boom, there's a collision. The right guard is pushed back. The wrong arm is blown up the vertical seam. There's no place to run. Or is there? Well, all he does is buzz his feet, step around it, beat the nickel back, beat the free safety. Now there's the free safety, and now the next guy, and then fall forward. Okay.
See, now this is if not a disciplined team, and that's probably their best guy up front that did that. I don't think that he just came up willy-nilly and wrong arm to play. He knew he had that safety behind him.
Safety's behind him, sure.
Yeah,
he knows with support behind him, he can wrong arm, right? With no support behind him, he must box, which means play it with his inside shoulder. But all that said, I don't care what if he'd found a way to run underneath that too. I don't care. He can play the technique he wants. He buzzed his feet, got his shoulders square, and embarrassed 3 defensive players.
Good grief. So, I mean, we could show a bunch of run plays. I mean, the run play where Hassan Haskins took the entire defense for a ride. I mean, that's the kind of stuff these guys are doing.
That's
the difference. The difference moving forward. The difference in winning and losing to me will be, can they capitalize on opportunities through the air? And continue to say that. And so this was a game, Al, where some opportunities were missed, for sure. Now, some of them were missed if a protection broke down, but others were missed where there were opportunities that either had errant throws or weren't recognized in time. But let's start off first with the protection one, because this is, I think, the subject of some debate. The safety blitz early in the game that broke through and pressured Cade McNamara. Was that just a great call? Was it a missed assignment? Could they have picked it up? I'll have you dissect it for us, Al. And this was an overset in slide protection. I'll put this up on the screen, and you can give us the coordinator's diagnosis to this.
They may have said, to hell with it. If the safety blitzes, you got to get rid of the ball quick. But on paper, it can be picked up. You have enough blockers to block the 6 defenders that are rushing. So as we look at it, it is a bluff. It is not a bluff. I'm sorry. A bubble wheel. It's the same play they ran a week ago, go in the same direction, only they were past the 50-yard line. I'm sure you remember what I'm talking about. They did not protect it the same. They empty protected this, okay? Where on the other one, they 7-man protected it. So they could have picked this blitz up had they not wanted to motion the guy out. But my point is it is unusual. It is a slide protection, and it should handle all the inside gaps, which is being attacked here. So as we look at it from the wide angle, you can see the same thing happen. They're faking the block, wheeling up the sidelines, faking the bubble. But again, Northwestern didn't bite. They didn't bite. And what would have happened, Sam, I think, had they been protected, he'd have checked that ball down, okay? Because I don't think he was going to get the wheel like he got it last week, okay? They're just less likely to go for plays like this, okay? So as we look at it, there's the free safety looking in a quarters look. But I'll say this, he's a little bit further up than normal quarters. So something may be up, okay? It looks like cover 4, but he's positioning himself about 1.5 yards outside that umpire, that big official there, so he can blitz, okay? So as we look at it now, the line, as we telestrate, is all going to block to the left except the tight end. He's going to block man-to-man on that 7 technique. Now, that's the weakness in the protection, if anything is, because he's not a natural pass protector, and a lot of times they'll put a damn good pass rusher there. Okay, so every guy has the gap to their left. The theme is the same as that run-through. Keep your eyes up, okay, and know what they're trying to do to you. In this instance now, what they're trying to do to you, as you'll see here in a minute, is they're going to bring the Mike backer in the A gap and the free safety in the other A gap. Mike backer going weak side A gap, free safety going strong side A gap, okay? So you look at that right there, Sam, you got it all picked up, don't you? You're in good shape, right? Those 3 players to the left, the center, left guard, and tackle, have the 3 rushers, 3 most dangerous rushers, which is the Mike, the 2-eye, and the wide 5, okay? And then the 3 technique and the blitzing safety are handled by the right guard and the tackle. And again, the tight end's all on his own, okay? But the same thing happens here now. The right tackle, a right guard, doesn't get his eyes up and flatten out to see the blitz. He chases the Mike to the other side of the ball, and 2 guys end up blocking a Mike who's committed to the 3-man slide, where if he just stopped and flattened, he would run right into the free safety. So this is we call it an overset, because on slides it tends to happen. Guys will set further than they have to. What he should do, just get his right hand up, kind of with a little right antenna, to hold that 3 up, get your eyes up and see what's happening. The Mike is declaring on the weak side, let him go into the slide, and the free safety will land right on your lap.
So you got a gap, not a man. You got a gap, not
a man, except the tight end. The tight end has a man, okay? He has a man. So
he chased the man.
Those A-gaps are attacked, and the center and guard are responsible for those A-gaps. So I'm not 100% sure that was what they intended and what. Again, I'm not sitting in the meetings, but that blitz can be picked up.
And so that was not on Cade McNamara, though.
No.
Hold the ball too
as far as
hard,
I'm concerned, it wasn't. But
yeah,
somebody may tell you different. But as far as I'm concerned, there were enough guys. If you've got enough guys to block who's coming, then you can't blame the quarterback. Now, if they don't, and he doesn't throw a hot route or a side adjustment, then you can point your finger at the quarterback. But I'm not sure you can on that one.
Right. All right. So, we saw a couple of concepts in this game, Al, or at least one concept where it was like, boy, they just ran this play over and over again, right? In this contest, it was called a stick dragon.
Stick dragon. Okay, and I'm using my West Coast terms, and I'm betting they use some of those too. I'm not familiar with their system, but I'm sure that some of those, if they don't call them that, they equal the same thing. Okay, a stick is a little 6-yard out by the tight end, and Harbaugh's run this at Stanford, runs it here. I mean, this is a common route for them. Okay. Okay, stick dragon. You can see it looks like a cover 4 back end, right? With a 3-by-1 formation in cover 4, and I know Hankovich used to like to do this, and I'm sure this is no different. They'll tell the free safety to key off of the number 3 receiver and almost just lock up the bottom side corner. Okay, we used to call it cover 4 special. It was another way to play cover 4 to a 3-by-1 formation. Okay, but it is basically a zone. All right. If you can see, because the Mike linebacker sitting in the middle of the defense, they're vulnerable in that slant area. Okay, there's your routes. All right. The X receiver is going to run a slant, which is a breaking point of about 5 yards, catches the ball at about 10. The back comes free, releases out of the backfield. This is a 5-man protection. We call it scat protection. That meant 5 guys were protecting. The ball had to come out fast. Okay. So you got a little slant flat combination into the boundary. That was the dragon side. The stick side now, number 3 is running the 6-yard out. This is where we did it different, but I like what they do here. Number 2 is running a fade. He's going to clear out that number 2 so that stick can work that hole, and then the outside guy is going to run a smash. Okay, what's a smash? A smash is a hitch type route that's thrown later than a hitch. Okay, so you can see. All right, now as we go through what those patterns are and what our thinking is. Okay, you can see there. If the quarterback sees that he can throw that smash route out there and it's just a gimme, he'll just take a little 1, 2, 3, boom, shoot it to him, move the chains. It's 3rd and 5, right? And if they're playing man-to-man, which they do later on this route, okay, he can throw the inside fade, internal fade, if he catches a safety matchup, which means he's got a safety trying to cover one of his inside wide receivers. He can use those 2 options, okay? But in this instance, he's seeing the safety on the hash. He's seeing single coverage on the X receiver. The Mike's sitting right in the middle of the defense, and the slant lane looks juicy. So he's saying, I don't have man free. I'm not interested in those guys on the top. Nothing looks great to me, so I'm just going to work the dragon side, okay? Let's see how that shakes out. So he takes the drop and peeks into that lane. That's his number 1 guy being the slant, his number 2 guy being the guy running into the flat. Now, pause it, please. Could you go back just a little bit?
Yep.
But you can see the free safety is not in the equation on the slant side. So now it's a 2-on-2 game to the boundary. Pick your poison. Cornelius clears. He gets him the ball. And there's your first down. Well done. Very well done. Well read, well thrown, well done.
And they ran that play a number of times in this game.
I had it run 4 times, I believe. 3 or 4 times. At least 3, I know.
Yeah, so it was clearly something Cade McNamara felt really, really comfortable reading.
Yeah, and he's read that play good all year. That's not news. I think he likes the play. He's got it because he's been successful on it, and it's got him first downs. And it was the play du jour on 3rd down and 4 to 5. As well, the wide delay was the play du jour a couple weeks ago on the 3rd and long situation. This was the play du jour on the 3rd and medium range plays.
All right. So next on the list, Al, is we'll get into another one, drive smash.
But when I first started studying West Coast offense, the staples of the offense were the 22Z in, the curl flat combinations, and the flanker drive. This is a tight end drive, but it's really the same concept, no different. But it is where all West Coast offenses start. And every team in the NFL and a lot in college have stole this concept and use it all the time. And Michigan's no different. The way they're doing this, they're setting a wing to the boundary. That's going to be your drive side, okay? And they're going to short motion the outside receiver to a stack alignment, as you can see here. And they're going to smash the field. Smash meaning there's one short, one to the corner, all right? This is corner smash combination, all right? Now, when you're in a tight split, you're going to run more of a quick out. You're going to end up in the same spot you would if you were running a smash from a wide split, okay? So that it's the same for the quarterback in terms of the high-low concept, the high-low idea. You know what I mean? And, again, if it's a gimme, hell, it's 3rd down and 5. If the quarterback likes that look, he'll flip the ball out there and go, knowing that if he makes a mistake and they jump it, he's still got a corner coming in behind it. So there's always a contingency plan, okay? But that's the first, a short motion to a stack, smash quick out, corner out to the field, okay?
All right.
Second part, boundary, drive route. Drive route means a vertical release or maybe even a slightly arced release by the tight end so that he can help that Y clear underneath him. They don't want to run into each other. Okay, that wing's got to hesitate a little bit and then come under the tight end. The tight end will push straight up the field 10 to 12 yards, then break inside right behind that Mike linebacker, okay? The outside wing will hesitate a beat, clear underneath, and then run as fast as his butt will take him across the field 6 yards deep, okay? But the key is as he runs, he's going to kind of see what's going on. If he sees coverage in his face or somebody looking him up, he's not going to run into somebody who's going to kill him. He can actually stop. Okay. And he's going to tell the quarterback that I want the ball. I'm not going all that way to run into somebody by stopping and looking at him with his eyes. Okay. Establish eye contact with the quarterback, sit in the void, and the quarterback will throw you the ball and try not to run you into the defender. The back now, he'll check. In this instance, Corum chips the 7 technique. They're probably a little concerned of him as a pass rusher. But after he chips him, he's going to try like hell to get out there about 2 yards outside the tight end and about 2 yards deep. Okay? So the quarterback has decided to erase the smash side. So I don't like anything out there. I'm throwing the drive side. I'm confident in all the guys doing that. Okay? So he's going to take his drop, and he's going to see what's up. Okay? If he sees that there's clearance into the flat, he's going to hit that tight end on the run. If he sees that there's coverage in the flat, that tight end's going to sit, establish eye contact, boom, shoot him the ball, turn and split the defense. If the Mike linebacker now, do you see those linebackers divide? See that? They divide, there's the hole between the two of them. Stop before you run into them, okay? Now, Sam, if for some reason the Mike chased the drive, the front side linebacker, okay? Now the quarterback would reestablish his eyes to the basic cross, which is the 10-yard dig by the tight end. And he would throw that. Okay? He would throw that. So his first progression is read the shallow cross, see what he does. The second guy in his progression is throw the dig if they jump or sink on the shallow cross. But sometimes, you know what happens, Sam? Sometimes you look in there and it's a pile of crap, okay? The whole defense is condensed for the shallow. They're very aware of the route. They've seen, here comes it. And you know who they don't cover?
Outlet, the back.
They don't cover the back. So I tell the quarterback, if you look in there and it looks like a pile of crap, meaning there's nobody open. They've sunk inside on the dig. The safeties are too low. Check the ball down to the back, and you'd be surprised the big plays you can get from that.
Eric All on this play does exactly what you said. He sees coverage and he sits down in the hole.
Right. Exactly. The backers divide. Oh, it's zone. Sit right there. I want the ball right there. Turn and split me. There you go. And what's good about that was a decent hit, but it wasn't a splatter shot because we tell the court, hold him up with the ball. Hold him up with the ball. Don't pull him into that guy with a throw. Give him an opportunity to see the ball, catch the ball, and turn and split the defense. Particularly on 3rd and 5, where that last little fall may carry you past the first down.
Right. So it was important to show. I mean, he was very efficient on short and intermediate throws. I think, what was it? You have his final stat line.
He was 21-27, I think.
21-27. 21-27.
The quarterbacks together were 23 of 32 for 163.
Right. And so he was very, very efficient on passes under 10 yards.
He was. Yeah, he was. He understands that stuff. I'm convinced. What Cade ought to do is stay after practice and just practice play passing. Hey, receivers, give me 10 minutes after practice. I want to throw 10 digs. I want to throw 10 corner routes, and I want to throw 10 posts. Okay? Just give me a few minutes and just practice them and come off the fake, practice making those throws, pretending you got a rush in front of you, and I promise you he'll get better because he's good on the underneath stuff. He understands the quick release time passing game pretty darn well.
Yeah, but the passes over 10 yards, he was 1 for 6. And that's a recurring theme. And so now 7 games into the season, and we've had this discussion over and over again. While we've seen progress with the downfield throws, it's fair to say that progress has been slow. That if there's an expectation for significant improvement, if you haven't seen, big steps after 7 games, got to say it's probably the case that, major improvement comes in the off season. That you hope for modest improvement at this point in season because there were some more plays left on the field. And so let's get into the deep shot sequences. And we're only going to focus on a few. in this game. The first one was one where you might recall Jim Harbaugh saying after the game, yeah, I think we kind of forced it a little bit with the deep shots. I think some people, Al, thought that they were talking about from a play call perspective, because Jim said, hey, they had two safeties back. We kind of tried to force it a little bit. Sounded like maybe people thought he was saying wrong call. I think what he was saying was in some instances, you got to take the check down. And this was one of those instances, Al, because they ran back-to-back deep shots. And it was thrown deep both times and probably shouldn't have been thrown deep both times. So let's look at the first one right here. I'll bring it up for you and share it on the screen here. All right, Al. So here we have it. This is the first deep shot of the game for Michigan, right?
Yep.
All right. And so on this play, it looked like he just made a decision. I'm gonna go for the gusto on this one.
Yeah. This a play. We ran this play when I was there. We call this smash pump. Okay, smash pump, and we did it off play pass, just like they're doing it. Means the inside receiver is going to try and double move that safety. You're trying to exploit that receiver safety matchup. Well, this guy's so soft. Okay, he just doesn't take the bait. All right, but the good news is the corner ascends so far back. You can see him on the screen. You can see him as soon as he catches Cade's aerial. He sees the wings going right to the post. So he's going to ascend underneath that. The safety's not going to take the double move, and they're leaving the smash route all by itself. I mean, it is completely uncovered. So if he just turns, resets, and bangs that smash right now, he's going to run forever.
I mean, this is super soft.
Right. But, yeah, you got to understand that because we call a shot, your eyes don't have to get like saucers and say, oh, I'm throwing this, come higher, hell or high water. This is what the NFL quarterbacks are so good. Guys like Drew Brees were so good at it. If you gave it to him, he's taking it. But if you didn't, he knew right where to go with the ball. And in this instance, you can see there's so much real estate between the smash route and the next defender that, I'd like to invest in that. Okay.
Yeah, it would have been a first down and likely some real good yak on that.
It'd be a huge piece of yardage. So, you take a shot. Doesn't mean, sometimes the shot equals a check down. Sometimes a shot means a touchdown. But you got to go into the play knowing that every play, Sam, is a different adventure and will have different reactions from the defense. So you got a clue, but don't lock in.
And so, trying to get in Gaddis's head. I'm not a play caller. You can get into his head better than me, but he went right back to the well because I can only imagine he looked at it and said, man, we had a guy wide open on that play. If they do something like that again, take it underneath. Take the check down. Otherwise, if they give us a big bite, then take it. And so he called a deep shot the very next play. I can't remember the last time.
And Michigan that may be why he did it, Sam. That may be what he probably did. I'm just guessing. I haven't talked to him, but he says we have a tendency every time we take a shot, the next play is a running play. He says we're going to do something different. We're going to take 2 shots in a row. We've never done that. So I think what he's trying to do here is probably just break a tendency, thinking that the defense is going to think that way. You know what I mean? They're going to say, hey, they're not going to take 2 shots in a row. No way. And so he comes back, he runs a flood route, and the post cut has nothing but field to run to. You can see the inside receivers run into the corner. The post area is wide open, okay? Single coverage, and the receiver has inside position on the corner. Okay, now, how do you throw that ball? You throw the guy open. What's the toughest thing to defend? The toughest thing to defend is the width and depth of the field. Make him run all that way and be able to defend deep. And he can't do it. If the ball's thrown to the outside third of the field where he's got to run to get this football rather than throw that ball, this is one where you don't want to put the ball on top of his head. This is why passing is an art, because it's always a little different, okay? Make him run to get that ball, make that defender go as far as he possibly can to get that ball, give him a great look at it, and make sure he can touch it.
Right. So I want to seize upon this because I mean, again, this narrative that receivers aren't getting open. He was thrown into the defender on this play.
Right.
Cornelius Johnson is open here. He was thrown into the defender. I'm not offering this as a critique of Cade McNamara as much as I am offering it as a critique of the commentary about this play and others like it. The post is open to the field.
Right.
If he throws him this way, he's running away from the defender. But he threw him this way and ran him into the defender. So you killed the separation he would have had on this play was eaten up by the throw.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's the coverage. If there was a defender in the outside third of the field, this probably shouldn't even be. If there's a defender in the outside third of the field, probably shouldn't even have been thrown, right? But there is no defender there. So use that area they're not defending. You understand? You got to see that. You don't want to necessarily throw this ball right at the post area if the coverage doesn't dictate you should.
Right. And so another one that is worthy of note, another shot, because Jim made it a point to say that now look, they're keeping safeties back. There just aren't as many shots available in this game as there were in others. The deep shots just weren't there. Because I mean, Al, Nebraska and Wisconsin, especially, it was shot after shot. I mean, those teams were daring Michigan to throw deep. Northwestern, on the other hand, was like, no, don't. We'll play everything underneath. We'll see if you can dink and dunk us. We'll see if you can run it down our throats, which Michigan could. We aren't going to let you just take all those shots that you took in those other games that they missed, which I don't understand, Al. I mean, we know that Michigan can run the freaking football. If I'm going to take my chances, I'm going to take my chances with seeing if they can complete some of the passes they haven't been completing.
Well, you know what they did? Okay, this is what, if you broke down Northwestern's defense, and I look back at the video and just watched Northwestern, what did they do? And I told you about the returns and some of the other stuff. But what they did is they mixed it, Sam. They were playing tight quarters coverage when you condense your formations more, okay? They were trying to make it as hard as you possibly. They were blitzing the safety sometimes. And on those plays, if you had them timed right, you may get a shot on them.
Mm-hmm.
But they were mixing it with pressures from the field and from the inside where they were playing with a middle safety, where those shots didn't look quite as good. So it was again, it's not what you call, it's when you call it, right, Sam? I'll say it again. It's not what you call, it's when you call it. If you can dial one up when that safety coverage is tight, you have a great chance to hit a shot.
Well, here's one that was called at the right time. This sort of stalk, block, and go with the tight end. You know, every shot isn't to a receiver, to a wide receiver, I should say. You know, sometimes the shot is to a tight end. And Luke Schoonmaker can run, Al. Like he's a fast tight end. And so here's another shot, Mr. Borges, as I bring it up on the screen. And I remember saying during the game, I even tweeted this one, so might as well say it here too. So, you got to hit these.
Yeah.
This one is more open than the post.
Yeah, this is a drop it on your hat throw. This was a little different now. This is a little different. And again, when you dial it up, I'll show you my assessment of the play for what it's worth. Okay. Because I thought Schoonmaker did a great job of selling
the community. Hope you check it out.
Okay. He made him believe he was going to try and block him. Now, the action is pistol stretch pass. They're trying to make it look as though they're running a stretch back in behind that wing. Now, if you could do it again, Sam, but pause it once he connects, he starts to connect on a fake.
Okay.
There. Okay. Right. Perfect. Okay. Now everything on the back end here, in terms of the connection point with the back, it should look like stretch. Okay. It looks like a stretch play, and they're trying to make that corner believe they're running a stretch at him. So tight is coming off and simulating like he's going to block him. And all he wants to do, Sam, is get him to freeze his feet. He doesn't have to get a huge bite. He's just got to freeze his feet so he can blow by him. Again, this is personnel. He's doing that. He's probably the only tight end they'd have do that because he can run a little bit, okay? Now, once he freezes his feet, he's going to blow by him. You come off the fake. You see the separation and drop the ball over the top right on his head. Don't throw it, don't throw it over his head, and don't throw it so short he can't do something with it. Okay. To leave it a little short, he might be able to do something with that. But this just allows the defender to make the play. And you got to give the guy a chance to make the play. So he goes right by him. But then the ball's way underthrown, and the defender comes back and he's high-fiving and doing it. But to be the truth be told, he was given a break, okay?
Yeah,
Because he's beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, his DB coach right now is telling him, he goes, hey, you were lucky.
Yeah, got beat like a drum. You got to be, if he lead this, Luke Schoonmaker runs well enough that could have been a touchdown.
Oh,
he
sure.
runs well enough for that. I mean, at least he's in the red zone, probably inside the 10.
Right.
With that ball.
Right.
And
again, just drop it on top of his head. Give him a good look at the ball. Great protection. It's clear and sunny day. Everything you want is right in front of you. Great protection. He fooled him on the route. He's open. He burst by him. Now the table's set. Let's eat.
So here's the thing. I think that people who offer criticism of Cade, like he does nothing well, aren't being fair. I mean, you look at the numbers, Al. It was a very efficient game for Cade McNamara. You gave the numbers 21 and 27. I mean, that says it all. Short and intermediate. Mm-hmm. And so if you lay out the things that probably give them security and confidence in him from a coaching perspective, it's that, like you said, mm-hmm. He's accurate, short and intermediate. He knows the offense. He's a leader on an offense. Remember, heading into the season, I mean, this was a unit devoid of a ton of leadership. You got Ronnie Bell, but besides Ronnie Bell, I mean, who was really established as a leader? I mean, Vistardis comes back and he gets voted a captain, but there aren't a lot of them. And so Cade McNamara is one of your leaders on the team, and you make this point all the time, Al. He takes care of the football. So let's lay those things out again. He's accurate, short, and intermediate. He knows the offense. He is a leader, and he takes care of the football. And, hey, by the way, they've written that to 7-0. These are things that you don't want to upset. Mm-hmm. But, Al Borges, there are elements offensively that are there that people don't realize. They keep saying, "Oh well, their receivers aren't open," and I mean, what's wrong with the play calling? Nothing's wrong with the play calling. Nothing's wrong with the play calling. I mean, with the exception. Look, I guess you shouldn't speak in absolutes. Nothing's wrong from the play call with the play calling from the standpoint of Al. That's not what's limiting the offense. That's what I mean when I say there's nothing wrong with the play calling.
The sum total of the play calling is not the issue. It is not. We all swing and miss. Babe Ruth struck out more than anybody.
I mean, we could talk about some red zone. Want more touchdowns in the red zone. We could go over the red zone series where they stalled in the first half. The 2 red zone series. We could talk about those. We could talk about maybe some more outside run plays and their outside run game needing more honing. But those are not the issues that are limiting the offense the most. The inability to connect consistently down the football field is the biggest factor limiting the offense, in my opinion. Now, that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater, Al, but how then do you realize more of those opportunities is, I think, to your phrase, the $64,000 question for this coaching staff.
Yeah, the one number that hasn't been talked about, okay, that I think bears out probably what you're saying as much as anything is, he was 21, I think, for 27, did we say? Mm-hmm. But the average per attempt, now that's huge, but only football connoisseurs appreciate it, okay? The average per attempt for a good quarterback, a quarterback who can make all the throws, the short ones, the deep ones, should be 8 or better, okay? Should be 8 or better. My first year at Auburn, Jason Campbell was over 10 yards an attempt, which is off the charts. Matt Leinart won the Heisman Trophy. He was 8'8", okay? Our average per attempt in this game was 5.09. Okay. So that tells you, are you getting the yards off your passing game that you need to supplement your running game? Okay. Now, in this game, it didn't hurt you. It didn't hurt you because, rushed for 300 yards, got some turnovers, some timely turnovers, played pretty salty and didn't play bad offensively overall. But that's got to get better. And whether it means using JJ more, which I'm sure you're probably going to bring up too, or doing whatever, that can't be 5 yards a game. It's got to be better than that against better teams.
Right. And so that's why I say it's not. See, you don't have to deal in absolutes because I think you're not being fair to Cade McNamara if you aren't highlighting the positives that he clearly brings to the table. He is a factor. He is a component in them being 7-0, but being 8-0, 9-0, 10-0, 11-0. Are there other ways to unlock the potential of the offense without disrupting what he brings to the table too? And I think there are. I think it's JJ McCarthy, not JJ McCarthy as a starter. Right? That's because he doesn't have the experience. So you can make the argument that you want him to get his growing pains and all of that, but you got some things established with Cade McNamara already. So can you bring some more complementary skills from JJ into the equation, not just as a runner? I mean, he has a good arm and some decent touch down the field. So if you have a menu of shot plays, Mr. Borges, let's say, and I'm just throwing out a number saying you're calling 10 shot plays a game. I don't know if they have a number. But let's just throw it out there, arbitrary number, 10. Then maybe now you say JJ's going to get a couple shots, and instead of a play or two at a time here, he'll get a few plays at a time in the game. Maybe he gets a series. That's a complementary role too. That's not replacement. You got to think that Cade has to feel secure in his position as the starter at this point, right? They have shown absolute faith. They are clearly not trying to take him out. They are sort of supporting him as a leader. He is the guy, but they are missing some things right now. Look at the last 3 games, Al. I want to say at least 2 touchdowns. At least 2 touchdowns have been left on the field in the last 3 games alone. I think that this is one of the ways that they can try to realize more of that potential without upsetting the apple cart.
And I would say that that's definitely something to consider. Now I'm going to talk like a coordinator, okay? All right. They used to have when I was growing up, they used to have a show called Point Counterpoint. Every time you guys do Monday morning quarterback with Devin, it's nothing but a bunch of point counterpoint. You guys are like a Detroit barbershop. It's unbelievable. But I'm gonna tell you what I think. I do tend to agree with you, and I've been telling you this for weeks. I think they got to devise something where he can get the ball downfield off some of the run looks that he's been using. But the downside to putting him in there for a couple shots a game, the upside is he may be able to hit those, and they haven't been hitting them, right? Like they want to hit them. Downside is he's got the most risky plays in your offense are shots. And particularly, you got to have good protection. You got to make good decisions. As you can see, it's not always easy. We just illustrated that a little bit. And the most likely, those are probably the highest likelihood of a turnover, okay? And now you're telling a freshman who's getting in the game and you're going to throw 2 shots. What do you suppose he's going to do when he gets in there, Sam? You think he's going to think about checking that ball down? What do you think the odds of that happening are?
I hear you, Coach.
So I'm just telling you the coach's perspective. They're going, yeah, we may give him one chance. But until he's the quarterback and he's experienced all these plays and he knows when to check it down, when all the stuff that Cade McNamara is suffering in the growing pains of still. But I'm going to put JJ in there and ask him to throw a couple shots, and doggone it, his eyes are going to get like saucers. I'm going to throw that thing come out. And now you've got a turnover. I know that's enters people's mind. That said, I just gave you counterpoint. All right. I just gave you counterpoint. Point is it's not getting done the way they want it done. Okay. To no one's satisfaction. And to this point, they've gotten away with it for the most part. But now life is going to get a little more difficult, okay? And will what they've done to this point be good enough to take care of what they've got to do in the future? And that, again, going back to that $64,000 question, what are you willing to risk? What are you willing to risk to see if this kid's ready to play more?
Right. Well, you said getting some things for JJ off of these run looks, and we got one more illustration to get to, and that's JJ on the crack bluff. It was a brilliant run. I described him as he's not a runner, but he can run. Well, this man on this play he looked like a runner, Al.
Yeah, I don't know. He looked like he run to me.
He looked like a runner on this play.
I tell you, this kid is intoxicating to a coach because he possesses so many physical skills. How many kids 6'3", and I think he's 6'3", isn't he, Sam?
Mhm.
You know how tall he is.
Mhm.
Can run like that and have a rocket arm, okay? And do the kind of thing, throwing the ball from sideline to sideline. They have a name for guys like that, Sam. I told you today. You know what that name is?
Yeah, you said John Elway.
John Elway. That's what that's called. That's what John Elway. John Elway was 6. John Elway was a 10. He was tall enough, strong-armed enough, smart enough, tough enough, mobile enough. He checked every box. There was nothing wrong with him. He went to Stanford. He was smart. You know what I mean? He was great in 2-minute drills. He was, this kid has, and I'm not making him John Elway, but has some of those same Elway-esque attributes, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Here we go, Al. Crack bluff.
Okay. We know all about the bluff because we talked about it last week, okay? They added a little dimension to it, which they used a year ago. They used this a year ago and was successful doing it. But what was impressive about this is the run. He jukes a few guys. I mean, he turns this into a big gain, and I'm just not sure Cade could have made this run, but who knows, maybe. But
no.
This guy's much more physically capable. Now, Let's watch why. Why did this thing look so good? Okay. They get into an unbalanced look, which loads the defense up to the field side. Okay. The ball's in the middle, but most of the receivers are to the left, and hence most of the defense is to the left. Okay. And these unbalanced end over looks tend to give you that. Okay. We talked about the bluff a week ago. We're going to pick on that 5 technique, and you go ahead and start it. And let's look at the spotlight that will drop on the 5. There is the read defender. If he squeezes, we're going to pull that ball. If he doesn't squeeze, we're going to hand that ball off. Well, in this case, boy, does he squeeze. And one of the reasons he squeezes, he's got 2 things to worry about, okay? You can see the blocking scheme. They come off with the double teams and, then come off to the second level. They leave the inside linebacker free for the wingback to crack back on. But the wingback's actually going to threaten to block that 5, as is the other wingback going to come around in the split zone with a split zone look, and he's going to bluff him. So he's got 2 things to worry about. You got to worry about the first wing blocking him and the second wing blocking him. Now, the second wing, after he fakes the split zone, he's going to duck around him and block that stand-up guy. But you can see, watch this 5 technique squeeze and just give JJ the edge.
Like the Red Sea party.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Look at that hole. Look at that hole. Now, he jukes one. Breaks a tackle.
Yeah, Mr. Borges. But again,
a little right foot in the ground. That's not all bad. Look at that. Huh?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
That's kind of Devin Gardner-esque right there.
Yeah, man. He obviously, we all can see that from a run standpoint, he brings tremendous complementary ability. He can make plays like that. Teams are clearly, if you're Michigan State, you're worried about that with him getting in the game. It opens up some elements in that throw game that you just wonder. You wonder if they just been waiting for that moment, Al. Not just for for him to show the maturation to be ready, but also to spring it on an opponent. Spring it on the opponent at the right time where they just they can't expect for it to be coming, and then you hit them with it. This would seem like it's that week, because you remember the first 4 weeks of the season, I was asking you every week, Al, do you think that they can play JJ in the complimentary role? They didn't do it. Then boom, Wisconsin, right? They unleashed it and let them run some plays in a meaningful time. And I just wonder if the same thing is in store for Michigan State with expanding that package for JJ just a little more. That's not talking about replacing Cade at all, because we laid out all the things that he does well. But again, trying to realize more of their potential offensively, that just might be a way for them to do it, Coach Borges.
Yeah, I would be shocked if they didn't have a plan for him. I mean, he's ready to probably take the next step. You want to put him in there optionally. You don't want to put him in there because you have to put him in there. You know, either the quarterback's faltering, the starting quarterback's faltering or injured. You'd like to put him in there because, you know, this is where we want to put him in there. I would like to see him run more than one play. I would like to see him run a couple. I'm not even saying taking a series. I like to see him, and this is just maybe the fan in me, and I try to avoid that because God knows we get enough of that from you, particularly this week, which I can't stand being around you this week. But that said, I'd like to see him, you know, get in the game and run a couple of plays and maybe find a little rhythm, take a ball down the field, throw it. Be, you know, I think it'd be a good little intro to him. And again, I'm not sure when you do it, you know, because that's easy to say. Then you're in a tight game. You're going, oh God, I don't know about right now. You know, all the best laid plans, you know, sometimes don't turn out to be what you want. But it'd be nice to see him do something other than a bluff zone, you know. And he has done some of that. I should say that he has thrown a couple balls up the field, but it'd be nice just to see maybe a little series of plays.
So last thing for you, Al, Michigan State. I know you've watched them some this year. And obviously, you've coached in this series, sort of coached in this rivalry. Bring those two things together: your experience with this rivalry and what you've seen from Michigan State. How that sort of colors your expectations for this game.
Well, I know this. Michigan State loves to beat Michigan, and they got a chip on their shoulder. We played Michigan State when they were really at the pinnacle of their success. They were hard to beat. They were good on defense. They played 2 NFL quarterbacks my first and third year when they played us, and they were solid offensively, and they were always good defensively with D'Antonio. So, but they're guys that you know, they don't get sometimes as good the 4 stars and the 5 stars, although they may be getting them now, I don't know. But back then they played with a chip on their shoulder. The game was a big deal to them. Not that it isn't to Michigan, it isn't, but Michigan has a divided rivalry. They have the Ohio State game right around the corner, and you know, I know USC used to say that when they played us at UCLA, they said, our rivalry is Notre Dame. You know what I mean? So we have
Michigan has Notre Dame too. Yeah.
No, that's right. So you got that going. But that doesn't minimize what Michigan has to do. Michigan plays this game to win. They will play this game with that same chip on their shoulder because it isn't like they've dominated Michigan State. And you know, if it was a game they could count on winning every year, I think they might be tempted to take it more lightly. But they're not. That isn't the case. And I think you're going to get Michigan's best effort. But I know you're going to get Michigan State's best effort because this is their game. And both of them being 7-0. I mean, has there ever been this much at stake, Sam? Ever? I don't know.
I mean, 99 is the one that jumps out to me. Michigan was number 3. Michigan State was number 11. Both teams were undefeated. This is Nick Saban's last year at Michigan State. I wonder if him winning that game that year was one of the ingredients in him getting that LSU job. That was the year they had Plaxico Burress, and that was the year that Michigan took Tom Brady out and said, Drew Henson, go win us this game. Michigan got down big. Tom Brady got in the game and almost brought them all the way back to victory. They wound up losing the game by 3 points, I think. But that's the last time it was like 2003 was a big game too. Chris Perry ran it for 50 times up there for 200 yards. But the stakes, I think, in this game with both teams being undefeated at that point, I think that game in 99 is the biggest one that in my lifetime. Certainly the biggest one until this one. We will certainly talk all about it. We will break that game down next week, win or lose. We will dissect what went right or what went wrong for the Maize and Blue in their matchup with the Spartans. Until then,
wait a minute. Wait. I have one more question for you before you do the until then stuff. Okay.
All
Is
right.
there any chance of you being tolerable at all this week? Is there any chance?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Nah. Look, I warn people. It was part of the fun of
I
the
don't care if you
rivalry.
warn me. I already know. You don't need to warn me. I already know. I already know.
I've kept it cool to this point because I've been focused on the breakdowns. Once these breakdowns are done, it's on. You get in the mood, you get in the spirit, you rile the people up, you rile the one side up in favor, and rile one side up against. That's what makes this week so fun, Mr. Borges.
Yeah, well, you're certainly good at that. Okay, I don't know what that brings to the table other than a lot of aggravation, but whatever.
That's right. Well, hey man, listen, it's a lot of fun, and hopefully we have a lot of fun breaking this game down next week. Until then, thanks for listening, watching, and going along with the Michigan Insider Film Breakdown focused on the offense with Al Borges.